Hey, sorry, it's Jeff again. Hey, I forgot one thing about loops part two. I got all excited about wrapping up and talking about how useful loops were. There's one more thing I want to cover, which I think it's covered in here. Yeah, variable name scope. It is. Let's talk about this real briefly here. Um, I may or may not be able to concatenate these two videos together, but I'll make sure I point it out regardless. Um, for for loops, for for loops, in many cases, you will see this. Oh, terrible. Let's make that just four. Make that small. Okay, so we'll run that, make sure that works. I'm missing my curly brace at the end. Okay, so in many cases, you will see the loop index variable declared inside the for loop itself, right? What I'm referring to here is this right here. Okay, I could instead do this. Right, so I could instead do this. Okay, so I can declare my variable and I can use it later anywhere, including in a loop. But I could also do this. Now let me show you why you might want to do this. It's actually pretty handy, right? This is where I'd get a show of hands here to say, what do you think the value of I will be when I print out in line 23? You can see it kept its value. Okay, so I have the same variable declared here and declared here. This is called a scope. And so this variable I is only known inside here. So any group, let me write this here, any group of statements inside a pair of curly braces, pair of not matching, I guess it's matching, right? Curly braces is called a scope. Any variable declaration inside the scope is considered, and this is a keyword, local, to that scope. In more advanced classes, we'll talk about local versus global, right? The textbook avoids this in general, right? I am okay with either choice. I do think that this can be confusing, right? If you look at this code, it can be confusing because, you're using a very neutrally or generically named variable and you're using it in different ways. It is very common in most programming languages that single letter variables like the letter I are used as loop indexes, but you might use them in other ways. Okay, so let me just show you one more thing here. So when I run this code, when it gets to line 19, it says I is undeclared, right? Okay, so the replit is smart enough to say I is undeclared. But if you declare it and use it, there's a chance that you may be confused here. You might think, well, here, let me take this out. And now let's see what we get. Now I is equal to 4, right? So you get two totally different behaviors, whether you have int here or not. And so that's a simple mistake to make and a bug that may be hard to find. So this is why the book, I think why the book tends to avoid this. I think it also is like avoiding it so that you don't have to think about local versus not. I do think it's a pretty good habit to kind of do this with loop variables. But you just got to make sure that those loop variables are not used elsewhere. And then you'll get the error when you run it. And you'll go, oops, I meant this needs to be a different variable. All right, so that's it on the scoping. I'll make sure that the combined code that I upload has both, with a note to say, hey, look at the scoping video. Unless I figure out if I can easily combine the two videos, I will. All right, talk to you later.